All right. Well, here we go.
Hi, my name is Renee,
My name is Kareem.
and this is our first
Our first conversation, well, recorded
conversation,
conversation.
at least. Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why we decided to do something like this is because we wanted to bring, sort of our conversations to those who have been, I guess, interested in a lot of things that we did so far as our homeschooling and things of that nature. And so we thought it was a great opportunity now to bring some of our thoughts, philosophies, opinions,
Hmm.
and to try and also, I guess, bring another type of understanding or to move perspective per se.
Well, at least to offer our perspective. I
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily know how different it's going to be,
Right.
but there's a lot of opinions out there.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think it's a good idea for us to start
Mm-hmm.
with exactly why we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I have to say that, um, like I said, it's for posterity's sake because I don't necessarily think, at least, I'm not betting on this having some, grand universal impact
Mm-hmm.
that is going to, change people's minds. I don't think that's something that we can do. All we can do is, offer our perspective and hope that people at least understand where we're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And if that changes them, then that is their choice.
Right.
Only they can really do that. You know, I, I I'm doing this really for me
Mm-hmm.
because when you think you have the answer, you feel morally obligated to act on
Mm-hmm.
it, to try to create something from it. But after a while, when you think hard enough about it, and you just look back at history, just what society has shown us, it is that it never really needs you.
Mm-hmm.
Never really needs your opinion. Like I said before, like no one has ever changed the world. The world has just changed. You know,
Mm-hmm.
things change because that's what they do. They
Mm-hmm.
change, and I would say that people may have had a hand in directing those changes, but change is inevitable, and I think it would be delusional of me to to try and try and make this you know and say that I'm the one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that's going to change, and I'm the one because it's my opinion and my answer that the world's been waiting for. And it's no, no,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm doing this, you know, because I look at the world and I, I say that it's not worth it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I, you know, because there's just so much foolishness,
Mm-hmm.
and at least what I call foolishness, and just things that don't matter, in the grand scheme of things. And it's like, why would I put myself in that position where I'm going to be disappointed?
Mm-hmm.
Where, because it won't be me. Like if it was just as simple as me starting this thing and trying to make something bigger from this, then yeah, I would do that.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I can't change your mind. Only you get final say in that, and it has to be through you,
Mm-hmm.
because if it's through me, then it is totally dependent on me.
Right.
And when that moment comes, when I'm not there or you're not there, whomever, has, become the fulcrum of this. When they aren't there, which is an inevitability, these things have to continue, and they can only continue if these changes, you know, happen because of you and
Right.
not me.
Right.
It has to be personal. It has to be intimate. You know, it has to be your choice.
Right. And so the thing that has to be our choice, the thing that is personal, the topic
Yeah, of this
of,
video,
of this video is Afrocentricity.
Afrocentricity, the cornerstone of our philosophical growth.
Right. Um, when I started homeschooling,
Hmm.
to give
This
you
is my
some
mother.
right.
Yeah. So you saw the homeschool a while
to give
ago.
you some background, when I decided that I wanted to homeschool, and when we decided that we was going to do that, it wasn't really even up for debate on where it is that I was going to start and what was going to be the foundation of my homeschool,
Hmm.
which is Afrocentricity.
Yes.
And it's a concept, a theory, a philosophy. If you're familiar with Malafi Asante, then you know exactly what I'm talking about here. He is the person, uh, I'm not going to say that he is the one who started it, but when you think about Afrocentricity, you think Malafi Asante. And so a lot of his work was basically the foundation of our homeschooling, and it continues
To this day.
to this day.
Yeah.
And so what we wanted to do, at least what I wanted to do, is to share, well, what is Afrocentricity?
Yeah.
To have that discussion and to move forward
And
with that.
moreover, what Afrocentricity ought to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So yeah, I think that's a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question being,
Mm-hmm.
what is Afrocentricity to us?
Right.
What is, how has Afrocentricity changed for us, and how is it developed as an idea from where it started?
Mm-hmm.
And like at the beginning, when we first started this, and I think we first read Malafia something,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing we read, Afrocentricity felt like the answer,
Mm-hmm.
because you go through the world feeling like there's something wrong, especially as a young black man,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's like I don't, this doesn't feel right.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't feel right. And Afrocentricity tells you that, yeah, well, it's not supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not supposed to be comfortable existing, under duress at all times, where you constantly feel like everything that is, on this tenuous thread that can be taken away from you at any moment. And it's not, it, you know, it's not nature that's going to take it from you. It's them.
Mm-hmm.
They hold all the cards, and that the game has been set up for them to hold all the cards. And it felt, I would say it felt easy,
Mm-hmm.
for lack of a better term, because you always feel like it's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
And Afrocentricity tells you that no, it's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
That if you want something for you, start here.
Mm-hmm.
Start with, your people. Start with your land, your culture, all these things. Call them yours.
Mm-hmm.
And take that and build your own.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is where you can be where you want to be and who you want to be. And you don't have to worry about, these foreign, I guess,
Yeah.
these outside forces that are going to come and, take away everything that
Mm-hmm.
that you feel like you can protect it. You feel like, it can prosper
Mm-hmm.
here, and Afrocentricity says that.
Right. Afrocentricity, it almost forces you to participate
Mm-hmm.
in your culture,
Yeah.
in your history, in your understanding. You're not just an observer
Mm-hmm.
watching things happen, that you are an active participant in creating, and you're constantly creating.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that I find, I guess, perplexing and intriguing at the same time, is that when we look at our history, we look at it as this thing that's there that we could point to.
Yeah.
Yes, there are all the pyramids, and yes, we have this and we have that, but we are a constantly moving and thinking and doing people, and
Mm-hmm.
our and the way that we think and the things that we do, we have to move from our center, and that's what Afrocentricity is. And so we're constantly creating and moving, and in our creation, in our moving, that we don't lose ourselves, but that we are able to understand the totality of what
Mm-hmm.
is happening, not only to us in one space, but
All
in
spaces.
all
Yeah.
spaces, and that you you are who you are wherever you are. It's not I'm I'm this over here,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I get here I'm something else.
Yeah.
No, you continue to work to be who you are wherever you are.
You know who you say you need to
To
be.
be right.
You know, and like I said, that's what we feel Afrocentricity ought to be. It
Mm-hmm.
ought to be this thing that tends toward the new.
Right.
That is all that it's an idea that you always have to engage with.
Right.
That will come and challenge where you are and who you say you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what it's there for. It is meant to be that thing which forces you into action.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it be, you know, uh, going to a protest, creating a protest, or shifting your beliefs. All of that is an action.
Mm-hmm.
It is something that you have to do, and I would say that a change in perspective is a lot harder than marching in the streets.
Yes.
Because true action does not come from that. Because that's the aesthetic. That's what we say revolution is supposed to look like. People out in the street doing all that. And it's like, no.
Mm-hmm.
That's a part of this. That's a part of the problem. It's getting so caught up in how things are supposed to look.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, we need to make things look like this. And we need to, demonstrate power and all these things. And we're still going with, with an outside aesthetic.
Right.
We didn't say that's how it was supposed to look. We didn't say that's how revolution is supposed to look. That's how, a debate is supposed to look. A change is supposed to look. It's supposed to be this, caustic, fiery, all-consuming thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you get so caught up in that, in the aesthetic and how it's supposed to look, that you don't do the actual work.
Right.
Of changing your perspective and knowing that you have to be that. You have to be that. It's not about being a part of something greater.
Mm-hmm.
Afrocentricity cannot give you that. Only you can say that I'm a part of a community, that this is something bigger. Afrocentricity can't say that. Afrocentricity says that you are a black person. By being black, your culture, your being is intrinsically connected to Africa. This is your culture. This is who you are. This is the basis of your being. And to understand that, and to take that and personalize it and put it into a 21st century context inside of you, forces it to move, forces it to change and grow, as you do. Afrocentricity is not some stagnant ideal, and it's not, a rhetoric. It's not a weapon. It is, I would say, it is a universal tool that allows you as a black person to guide yourself. That's what it's supposed to do. It doesn't handicap you, and it doesn't connect you to anything other than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's meant for. At least, that's what it ought to be.
Mm-hmm.
It ought to be this thing that allows you to be who you say you are wherever you are.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you that guide. It gives you that basis. And when we say that Afrocentricity, is this dynamic, moving thing, we mean that there are many philosophical ideals that have come and gone, that have their time and that stop. Like nobody really, not anymore at least, believes in the Platonic ideal for reality. How that, there is a perfect representation of all things. That's impossible.
Right.
Perfection is not a universal ideal. It is something only you can say. So particular philosophical beliefs fall in and out of favor. Afrocentricity is not a philosophical belief.
That's right.
It is a form of action.
Right.
It is a perspective that ought to be as dynamic, as flexible and free as you are.
That's right. As a speak. Right.
Yeah. You are changing, just like everything else. Everything is always changing. We cannot allow ourselves to grow stagnant and to not move and get caught up in the aesthetic of what our, revolution is supposed to look like. We can't get caught up in that because, you'll feel distressed.
Yes.
When it's not that,
Right.
Like, oh, I must be failing. It must be doing something more. Like, no.
No.
All you need to do is live according to your principle and derive your principle from Afrocentricity. Because, you're black. You can't escape that.
Right.
Afrocentricity tells you that. I don't think you really need Afrocentricity to tell you that.
Right?
But it does.
Right.
You are black. You are born black. And no matter what you do, you will be black. This culture, this history, Africa is at your back no matter where you go. So either you can walk with it or you can walk against it.
Right.
So you must say that this is who I am. Africa is not defined by Afrocentricity. You define what that is.
Right.
But, Afrocentricity tells you that Africa is there. Only you can say, well, what is that?
Right.
You can answer that. You say what that is. Then you walk with it. You make it mean something. And that's what Afrocentricity is to us. It is this dynamic, flexible, fluent thing that shifts and moves and prompts shift and movement
Right.
from us so we can always be ready
Right.
for all things all the time.
And being ready means to understand the answer. To understand that we are able to come up with answers. And to look at those answers and how it is that it propels us to do the work that needs to be done. So when we look at our history, okay, and we pull from it the things that work, and we try to make those things work for us today. But we understand.
But you have to say that they work.
Right.
Right.
And you have to also understand that we are a people who we move. We can't, well, it's not that we can't. We should not allow ourselves to get so stuck, like you say, in the aesthetic, or to get stuck in, looking at what our ancestors did before, because that was for them,
Yeah.
and that was their work.
Hmm.
And so we today cannot rest our laurels on the work that they have done. What we should be doing in
Yeah.
this case is building upon that
Yeah.
and understanding that there is no end game.
Yeah.
It's always constant work.
Yeah.
And some of us don't want to do the work.
Well, especially when you say there's no way out. There's no end game.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point where you can say, well, I'm done. That happens when you're dead.
Right.
Because what? You're done.
You're done.
At
right.
that point.
Right.
But while you're alive, principle is not, it's not something you can stop doing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to live by it. You have to make it mean something through your actions all the time. You have to fine tune it so it works every single day. You have to adjust it and make sure that it works for you, where you are and where you want to be every time. So when Afrocentricity says, at least when we make it say,
Right.
when we make it say that you have to be this, right? A man has to be a warrior,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a war out there and all these things. They're coming for you. What you're doing is you're taking away from the momentum
Mm-hmm.
of reality. War is how they define it. That's how we got here.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I don't see how we're supposed to get out of this by saying, well, we need to wage our war. At least we need to start fighting it correctly, And it's like those that's their parameters.
Mm-hmm.
That's their parameters. I thought we said war was wrong, that we shouldn't be doing this,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what we said. Afrocentricity tells you, go with what you say.
Mm-hmm.
Go with what you say as long as it is connected to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We said that. Nah, we don't think that's how it's supposed to go. Right? So we look at all the wars that have been waged throughout history and the wars that we've waged on ourselves. And we can't then go and say that, well, it was wrong. World War I is wrong. World War II is wrong. Those were, white people crimes. They did that. And then look back at our stuff and then try to rationalize
Mm-hmm.
and say, well, sometimes you just got to fight. Sometimes it just comes to that,
Right.
and try to rationalize, what we said
Mm-hmm.
is wrong. Live by it. We say it's wrong, right? If that's what we say, that war leads to this. That's what we see. That's what we know. Because every single time throughout history, when has a war ever truly ended anything?
Right.
When has a war ever truly changed anything?
It becomes something else.
It becomes its own type of madness.
Okay.
You get caught up in that, and it breaks you.
Mm-hmm.
And and you can't live without it anymore. That's when, when people come back, they're damaged.
Mm-hmm.
After World War One, like
You don't even have to go that far. You can go to just even recent wars.
I'm just saying,
Right.
because World War One was the war that ended the delusion. Like before then, war was seen as this this glorious endeavor. Then World War One happened, and then it you just see the difference in art, and how they represented it, and it went from glory to pain,
Right.
to agony, to madness.
Mm-hmm.
And if we know that war only causes more problems, then we need to shift the parameters. We need to change our discussion
Mm-hmm.
on, tackling oppression in the 21st century. We need to change how we go about having that conversation,
Mm-hmm.
because we know where the current parameters take us. It takes us, in a loop, right back here.
The place that we say that we don't want to be.
Yeah.
Right.
We say we don't want this anymore. We don't want to be here anymore. We don't want to deal with this. because oppression is wrong. It handicaps the people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, war leads to oppression. We don't know where World War One came out, how it happened.
Mm-hmm.
We know the circumstances. You know, Franz Ferdinand was
Right.
assassinated. If I'm getting that name right, you know, it was assassination and then war,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you know, with the asking story, like what exactly caused the war, they would say we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know, but we know what caused World War Two, World War One,
Mm-hmm.
and we know what caused the Cold War, World War Two. We know what the Cold War led to. You know, the war in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't.
Do we
There you
know?
go.
Do we know what caused Europeans or Arabs in that case, because they were like 1,000 years prior? Right? What caused them to war with us?
Well, what? In my opinion, I would say that the very nature of empires is war. We built empires, African empires, and we say that those are ours. Well, we know what the conclusion of anybody's empire is. You have something that somebody else wants. You built up this great nation. We want to rule that. That's what led Alexander the Great into Persia. That's what led Julius Caesar into Persia,
Mm-hmm.
into Greece, into Macedonia. You know, that's what led all of this, all the great wars of antiquity. You have something that I want. You have an empire. You say you're this. I'm better. I want to rule you. I want all your riches, all your secrets. I want your history, and I'm going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's that's the conclusion of empires. Empires rise and then they fall. They either fall because an outside invader comes and takes what they want,
Mm-hmm.
or they fall because of divisions on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Because to maintain an empire means you must draw stringent lines in the sand of where people are and how they ought to operate, right? And when you do that, like I said, people change, and there are going to be people who cross those lines,
Right.
who won't stay what you tell them they ought to stay as,
Mm-hmm.
who won't be what you say they ought to be. And, when that happens, what do empires do at that point? Well, the only thing empires know how to do with their armies, they crack down.
Mm-hmm.
They say, no, no, you have to be this. You have to be this. And what happens? People don't listen.
Right.
Doesn't matter how many people you kill. Doesn't matter how many, houses you come down on, what rules you put in place. You cannot stop change. It happens. No matter what, things will change. And if you don't move with that change, you will fall.
Mm-hmm.
Either from the inside or the outside. That is the conclusion of all empires. War. So that's what started the war. Well, is the nature of empires themselves start wars.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to say, well, what do you want?
Right.
What do you want at this point?
Right.
Do you want, a black empire, an African empire, what we had, that fell,
Mm-hmm.
that showed, that empires, no matter in whose hands, can only last so long.
Mm-hmm.
Can only last so long. But so, do we want that? We want our empire. We want our history, our legacy, our glory back, right? Because we know where that leads.
Mm-hmm.
Or do we want something that works for who we are now? That works with the perspective that we have now. We know how empires end. We know why they end.
Mm-hmm.
It's their very nature to have bloody beginnings and bloody endings. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't want that. We want something that lasts, right? We want to be free.
Right.
Then it can't be this anymore. It can't be empires, period.
Right.
It doesn't matter who has it. It can't be empires. It has to be a functioning society built on the basis of a true democracy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because a community, no matter, what community it is just, a correlation of individuals. It's just people, individual people all agreeing to live their lives together. Right? So when that happens, your society can't then say what that individual has to be. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It can't say that um what's a good one?
Mm. What is a good one?
I don't want to go to the obvious stuff,
No, I was trying not to go there this particular round too, because
Yeah.
we want to hold that for something else. But what I will say is this:
I'm just saying.
is that in creating what we call a community,
Mm-hmm.
all of us, we still maintain and we still maintain who we are when we come into this community.
We should. Mm-hmm.
We should, right? We should be able to be who we are
Yeah.
in the making of this community, in the making of this society.
Mm-hmm.
And we should not have to give up, who we are
Yeah.
in order to create our community in our society.
And I think, moreover, we shouldn't give up on who we say we should be.
Mm-hmm.
On, we say that an African is a loving, accepting, open person who is able to create something that lasts.
Mm-hmm.
Something for its people, for people
Mm-hmm.
in general to be able to exist in. Because, Egypt didn't exist in a vacuum.
Right.
No great empire does. And it's impossible for any society of any functioning, to exist in a vacuum. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The only way that happens is if you, seclude yourself on an island somewhere and then refuse all type of change
Mm-hmm.
in any way. And that's very comfortable for black people. Right?
Well, I think that has. I don't know if that's I'm gonna call it a chicken egg argument, because I think at one time that, yes, we were to ourselves and among ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and then, we have other folk who came in and pretty much saw what we were doing, and we were, I'm gonna say, open
Mm-hmm.
to them. We allowed them to even step foot on the territory.
Mm-hmm.
We allowed them to learn from us, to learn the math and science and
To be among us, just in general.
just to be among us.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And we were repaid, I'm going to say harshly.
Well, I would say that black people have a tendency of getting overly comfortable with the most obtuse of circumstances.
Okay, yeah.
Example being the world we're in now.
Yeah.
Like, our position is almost untenable, but we've been keeping it for a very long time.
Yes.
Like I said, you find like some far-flung, never discovered black community, like in the heart of Africa, nobody ever found it, right? Like you would expect those people to be on the moon somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
like just allowed to be among themselves with no outside interference, just to, to create and to do whatever they ought to be in the stars, and I don't know, they might be by now,
Right.
with some of the conspiracy theories out there. They got, they got pyramids on Mars, so we might be them.
Okay.
But 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 what you find
Mm-hmm.
is you find a people who has been doing the same thing for the past 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
Still hunter gatherers, still, they dress the same, look the same, talk the same, they are the same people since the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
There's been no significant changes in them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I said, you would, why are you still doing this? Why are you still doing this? You could, like, you were untapped, you were unsullied by the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you still doing this? Well, we know why. Because it's comfortable. It's comfortable. It's who they are,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they say. It's who they are, and I'm pretty sure they refuse all type of change,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, you can't be this. We are this. You
Mm-hmm.
can't go there. We are this. That's how you get to stay in the middle of nowhere and get to be the same society for thousands of years with no significant growth. And it's like that's who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Once we say like this works,
Mm-hmm.
that's what we do.
Right.
Like it could be the most untenable, inhumane predicament in society, but we can get comfortable in it.
Mm-hmm.
There's people among us who just accepts the world the way that it is now and say, well, this is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
This is what it's always been. And it's like, if you can accept this,
Right.
if you can accept this, and this is,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
this is madness.
Right.
This is foolishness. This isn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you can accept this,
Mm-hmm.
then you can accept anything. And black people are a very accepting people. We need something that will be our proverbial challenger, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why war is such a comfortable concept, right? Because that challenge is external. It's them. It's them over there. Need to get them.
Mm-hmm.
Need to get them and kill them, obliterate them, get rid of them, all that.
Right.
But we know what that leads to. That leads to you saying, well, it's them. And it keeps going. And you keep pointing your finger, right? And you keep, warring, destroying, obliterating. And you go nowhere. You're caught up in this loop where you think you're going, because you're in the moment and you're doing action. We're addicted to action. What people aren't. Where you're doing and you're doing and you're doing and you're doing with no perspective, right? With no need of one. Because war is an all-consuming thing, and it requires you to only be so much. We need warriors, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need gunners. We need pilots,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what we need.
Snipers, right.
Sniper, all that good stuff.
Right.
That's what we need. So that's who you need to be. And you can't say we don't need it when,
Look at this.
Look
Right.
at us. Yeah, you can't say we don't need it.
Right.
Look at who we are. Look at where we are.
Right.
Right? And, to play devil's advocate for myself, you say we need change. You say we resist change. What about them? Is there any more resistant people than white people?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, it absolutely.
At least,
is.
well, I won't say white people. I'll say white society. As they
You can say
create.
white people. Well, I'll say it.
Yeah.
I'll say it. That's fine. That's
I
fine.
would say Western European society is very resistant to change.
Right.
Especially after the church. Right?
Right. Oh, no change whatsoever.
And it's like
They
they boast about these things.
Yes.
That
Yes,
we've
they brag,
been,
yes.
that we've been, this is what we've been, this is what it's allowed us to do. It's allowed us to take over the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? Catholicism was forced on them just as much as it was forced on us. They weren't believing in Christ at first. They were believing in Odin or whatever.
Right.
Whatever gods they believed in,
Mm-hmm.
the Druidic beliefs, was wiped out,
Mm-hmm.
by this, essentially Middle Eastern religion,
Mm-hmm.
right? It came in, took over Rome. Rome died.
Right.
And in his last dying breath, it breathed Catholicism onto
right.
Europe. And it forced them to be that. And it forced them, not necessarily to be Catholic, but into that mindset
Right.
of us versus
It's
them.
them.
We are the greatest. We are
Right.
the
And
best.
we are going to go out and conquer.
Yeah.
and take your lands, take your people, take
Because
do
this
whatever
is
it is
who
that
we are.
right,
This is who we are. That's who you are. We're here to conquer. You're there to be conquered.
right.
In whatever way. Right? You know, they are at odds with their world.
So Afrocentricity wants to, I'm gonna say it strives to eliminate, you know, confusion. I guess it wants us to
Diversity breeds confusion. It was always be confusion. But Afrocentricity is the lens in which you ask your questions.
and answer them as well.
Well, Afrocentricity, I don't think can answer anything.
Well,
Only you can answer.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
yes. But as you are looking at the world through this prism,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so your answers are going to be reflected back to you.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. We rely on external things. We rely on all
When
the
I
things
say
outside of us.
all right, yes. So,
Mhm.
how is it that we solve the problem of war, or just thinking that the only way that we're going to come out of this is if we just kill everybody?
Mm-hmm. That's what it takes.
Because it seems it. Because I think a lot of us would say that we have tried other methods.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, we have even tried to change ourselves to be more like you in order
Mhm.
to save ourselves. Okay.
Yeah.
So
But you're black.
yes,
You can't escape that.
yes. That's definitely. So what is it that we are left with after we've tried to answer the call?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when those boots came marching at our doors, we resisted,
Mm-hmm.
constantly resisted,
Mm-hmm.
and yet we were still overwhelmed. I think
Yeah.
I know what you're gonna say. We were
Mhm,
still
mhm.
overwhelmed. So how is it that, or what is it that we can do? Because it appears to us
Mhm.
that you're leaving us
No other option.
no other option.
Yeah.
So if that's not the case,
Mm-hmm.
then what is it?
I can't say that that's not the case.
Okay.
The
Right.
case is whatever you want it to be.
Right.
If you feel,
And I think that's what Afrocentricity wants, is that it's whatever the answer is. Right? That's what it's whatever that answer is. And if we say
mhm,
that the answer is
war,
war,
how is that not Afrocentric?
how is that not Afrocentricity? How is
Well-
that not the answer?
Well, that's a good question.
Good question.
I would say that, like I said, Afrocentricity provides no answers. It only allows you to ask the questions that you need to ask, so you can arrive at the answers that you want. It doesn't say anything. All it says is that it's to accept your reality.
Okay.
You are a black person. You are intrinsically connected to Africa, to the cultures of your ancestors. That's who you are,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So, if you say that we've been left no other option, that's not Afrocentricity. That's you, because it's impossible for Afrocentricity to say that.
That is correct. That's
Yeah.
why. That's why I said.
Yeah,
right.
it's impossible for only you can say that,
Mhm.
right? Now, if you say we've been left with no other option, then the conversation's over. There's nothing I can say. No
Mhm.
other option. I'm saying that you aren't left with any other option.
Mhm.
That war is never the answer, because at least war in their parameters, right? war and armies and battles and gunshots and deaths and all that. Not to say that there won't be any type, but what I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
is that defining these parameters that way, the way empires do, as our position has become untenable, we only have one response,
Mm-hmm.
right? Defining our parameters that way leads to this.
Mm-hmm.
At one point in history, has it not?
Mm-hmm.
It always leads to us asking this question again, where our position is untenable. What do we do now? We've been left no options. It always leads to that, right? All it's just a shift in perspective. What do you want? What do you want? Do you want to be free? Right? War does not give you freedom. War gives you war. If you want to be free, all it takes is a shift in perspective and the discipline to live by that principle that shift gives you. If you say war is wrong, if you say killing is wrong, right? If you say these things, then don't try to rationalize or justify when we find ourselves in those positions, right? I'm not saying don't defend yourself, right?
Of course.
I'm not saying that.
Of course, yes.
All I'm saying is that don't rationalize what you're doing, right?
Okay.
You are saying that my life is worth fighting for, right? And when someone comes to take my life, I will do anything, including taking their life,
Mm-hmm.
to protect my own,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're serving your own self-interest, right? Now that, for some people, they're like, no, that's not, that's what it is. You're serving your own self-interest. I'm not telling you not to do that,
Right.
because God knows
Right.
I would,
Yes. Yes.
I'm not,
Yes. Right.
If
Yes.
it ever comes to
Do
that,
Right. Yes.
I'll do that.
Yes.
right? But, and there's some people who say that contradicts what I'm saying, right?
No, you have.
No, what I'm saying
Right.
is that, you only find yourself in that position if you say you find yourself in that position, right? And then here I go saying, well, if I find myself in that position by somebody else's power,
But the thing is that we're dealing with reality, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is that make no mistake, we are under the boot.
yeah,
Okay, that's where we are,
mm-hmm.
and how we respond to that.
Mm-hmm.
How we have to be who we say we are or should be,
yeah,
even in our responses.
yeah. Well, when we say we're warriors,
Right.
we're warriors,
Mm-hmm.
we're kings and queens, we're all that good stuff,
Right.
right? Well, we know what that leads to.
Mm-hmm.
We know what that leads to. Afrocentricity, war
Mm-hmm.
is not the answer. At least it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be the answer.
So what should the answer be? Because
Like I said,
that's what
a shift in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You have to live by your principle. If you say these things are wrong, that's what they are. Live by it, right? But don't, stop at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Always re-examine.
Mm-hmm.
Always question everything. Question yourself. That's necessary
Mm-hmm.
for a change, at least a healthy one.
Yes.
Because you will change. If you want to cause, any direction in that change, then you must be aware,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's what Afrocentricity allows, for you to develop an awareness, right?
Right. But I know that folk are going to simply just say, well, what is it? And that's the thing I think.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Shift in perspective.
Mm-hmm.
A shift in perspective. Like we said, freedom is a state. Liberation is an action.
Right.
Right? You want to be free? You're already free.
Right.
You're born free.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to be liberated? That takes responsibility. That takes self-control. Right? So, I guess I know what you asked. In the
Right.
most practical of terms,
That's right.
what should we do?
Right.
Here's my best answer.
Okay.
If tackle the oppression in your life, whatever that may be. For some people, it may be, going to a job they don't want to go to. For some people, it might be being in a relationship you don't want to be in.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, It might be, going to a school or in a class
Mm-hmm.
or in a PhD program that you don't want to be in anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Those things that you think are forcing you to be something that you don't want to be. Cut it out. Cut it out. Right? You say you don't want it, then don't engage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want this. I want something else. Right? Then go out and create that. Create that for you. Right? What is it that you want? Right? I want to be a comedian. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this job, I'm doing all this, and I don't know if I have what it takes to be a comedian, but, I got to pay bills. Screw it.
That's right.
I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
That's right.
The consequences are there. They'll always be there. But if you're willing to live with them, then nothing's stopping you from living in your truth. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to do this. And be, like I said, I'm more than willing to sink in my own ship. Because it might not work out. I don't care. I want it to work out.
Right.
But it might not.
Right.
But it's mine.
That's mine.
It's mine.
Mm-hmm.
So just, like you said, stop lying.
Mm-hmm.
Stop lying. Stop convincing yourself that you have to be someone you don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
to survive. That's not what society is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And like I said, that's why society was created. That's why people came together in the beginning
Mm-hmm.
to offer each other a better way of life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We don't want to be, subject to the hostiles of nature. We want to create an environment for us. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We provide for each other. We live with each other. Right? It's supposed to allow you that space
Mm-hmm.
to say, well, now I don't need to worry about all these things. I don't need to worry about fire or grain and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to worry about that. So what do I want to be now? Right? For some people, like I want to be a musician.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be this. I want to be that. All right, go ahead and do that. Do it. But don't rationalize when you come to that position where it seems like it's all slipping away from you. Because at some point that's going to come.
That is
and you're
going
to
to
think,
happen.
did I make a mistake? What am I doing? Why am I even here?
Right.
Yeah,
we call that the open door or the open window. When the door opens, when the door closes, a window opens. Because in our journey,
mm-hmm.
we have had windows to open.
Mm-hmm.
We like to call it the loophole to get out of this.
Yeah.
But for us to get out of it, it requires us to move to get out of this.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, when I decided that I wanted to homeschool, and I came to you, all right. I was in a PhD program. PhD program. Okay, and when that epiphany happened for me, I stopped immediately.
Yep.
And that means that in my stopping, that means that I have to handle all the consequences that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
Every bill that's not paid, anything that comes with that. That's what happened.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you decide to take this journey,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
you have to be comfortable with those decisions because they are yours.
Yeah.
They're yours. So when folk ask, well, what is it that we do? Can you just stop what you're doing?
Yeah.
Stop exactly what and then fall on whatever it is that you have arrived at.
Mm-hmm.
If your decision is, like you said, you want to become a musician or do whatever it is, then you need to do that. And even
if your position is, I want to start a foundation.
Right.
I want to start an Afrocentric community.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I want to do that.
Right.
You do it.
Right.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, and understand that even when you do that,
Mm-hmm.
you are going to have challenges that are going to come at you.
And you need to do it for you.
Right.
Right.
Yes. But understand, but see, at one time I think that we did not understand that we were going to have challenges. And I'm saying that
Yeah, in a broad
in a
sense.
broader
Yeah,
sense,
yeah.
that we didn't think that we were going to be challenged because we're first.
At
We
least
don't-
from our own.
from our own,
Yeah.
right? We didn't think that we were going to have challenges. So now we're at the place where we're constantly being challenged, and so now you're making the decision.
Yeah.
You are making your decision,
That you have to make.
right?
There's no ifs, ands, or buts
Right.
about it.
So,
You have to choose.
So when you decide, when you make the choice to stop lying,
You know?
to step away,
Yeah.
okay, I like to call it the retreat, then you have to go back in. You have to regroup, and then you come out better, I guess, than you were before. And
That's the plan,
that's
at
right,
least.
and you live with that.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. So I tell people, because I know folks have asked, we do this all the time. This is our daily life.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we visited some family, and family
Yeah.
came in and saw us.
Yeah.
We were talking or whatever. This is the choices that we have made. I know that I made this decision that it would cost me a certain amount of dollars
Yeah.
and things. But like I tell people, I haven't missed a cup of coffee yet. You all know how I love coffee. I haven't missed any coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Those things that I thought that I needed, those things that I thought that were important to me, they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not important because I said
Yeah.
that they're not important. When I say that they're not important anymore, then that's it. So when you decide, when you come to terms with your decision,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to live with your decision.
Yeah.
Okay? So
I
when
mean-
we talk about, all right, if your decision
It's to be a warrior.
is to be a warrior, right? That's your decision.
Yeah.
Then you have to live with that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to go out and do all of the things that you say,
Claim.
that you say,
That
that
a
you
warrior
claim,
ought to do.
that a warrior has to do.
Yeah.
And the consequences of that is on you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Good, bad, or indifferent. That's yours.
Mm-hmm.
That's yours. But you have I did not impose that upon you.
Yeah.
That's the thing with Afrocentricity, is that it's not, it's
It's not an either or.
Right.
It's not an ultimatum.
right.
It's a key. It's a
Right.
lens.
Mhm.
Right? Like I said, it doesn't answer anything, but it gives you what you need to begin to ask the proper questions.
Right.
Right? That answer, that's for you.
Right.
That's what you come up with.
Right.
Right? And we're saying that Afrocentricity ought to make you come to our conclusion.
Mhm.
Right? That's what we want.
Mhm.
We want people to begin to come to our conclusion that there will be no, war, no monumental, all-consuming, all bets are off, this is it moment. Right? That won't come.
At least not how I think a lot of folks are defining or seeing it.
Yeah, not in that aesthetic.
Yeah, not in that aesthetic. Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
It won't come like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to come through the simplicity of your actions. Who you say you are, you're going to come to that moment where now you truly have to choose. When you come to a point of no return, is this who I am?
Mhm.
Is this what I want? Right? When you come to that place, yes or no? Yes or no? And whichever way you go it
Mm-hmm.
till the very end.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And those moments might come, again and
Yes.
again and again and again.
And they will come. And that's the thing.
And you
When
got to answer them every
right,
single time.
That's it. Is that even in making your choice
Mhm.
to be the warrior,
Yeah.
the healer, the musician,
Yeah.
the poet, whatever the case may be, okay? You are going to run across another obstacle
Mhm.
that is going to challenge your principles, I guess.
Yeah.
Challenge your decision that you made. What are you going to do?
As a black man,
Yes.
as a black person,
Right.
how are you going to handle this?
Right.
How are you going to handle this? And it's like,
Think about it. Some of us have invested, what, 10, 20, 50, 30, so many years of our lives to become the African that we say that you have said that you are.
Mm-hmm.
Are you willing to risk
All of that
all of that
to be someone else.
to be someone else, just to fit in or just to do whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Or it,
To say
yes,
that, are you willing to risk everything that you are to be what you say you ought to be? Right?
mm-hmm.
You've invested so much in being wrong.
That's right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's impossible to be right. You've invested so much in being wrong.
Mm-hmm.
When something comes to you and shows you that you are wrong,
Mm-hmm.
in that moment, are you going to be right? Are you going to say, you know what, I've been wrong, I'm going to be this now? Right? Are you going to change? Or are you going to die on your sword?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can't tell you what decision to make. All I can say is that you have to recognize when those moments come. And you have to choose. And you have to be willing to live with it. Right? For whatever that is, whatever that it is, you might wake up one day and then say, do I want to go to work?
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to go to work? Do I want to go to that building?
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to go in that place and deal with those people? Do I want to do that? Right? You know what's at risk in that decision.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
This is, and ain't the white man, you know, knocking at your door. Ain't the police about to break in and, you know, put a black bag over your head and send you to Guantanamo Bay because, you know, of your black revolutionary talk. No. Are you going to work?
Mm-hmm.
This is the fight. Are you doing this? Are you going to work? Right? Do you still want to be wrong? You know that you shouldn't be there. You want to know why I know? Because we're having this conversation.
That's right.
Because you
As a matter
have
of
turned
fact,
to Afrocentricity.
As a matter of fact, you have had this conversation with yourself, even if you don't even recognize it as the Afrocentricity.
Yeah.
You wake up every morning and you're like, Lord,
Mm-hmm.
something is wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
You may not be able to label it,
Mm-hmm.
but you know that something is awry.
Yeah.
And you know that you're thinking, okay, well, I have to go to work because, you know, I have to pay these bills.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if I don't go to work, well, the bills don't get paid. But some of you all are going to work and your bills still aren't getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing something that you don't even want to do, and you're
still struggling.
and you're still not having your needs met.
Yeah.
Even in doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a decision that you have to make.
And you have to have the strength to build what it is you say you want.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to come to that. Like I said, no grand battles, no, you know, one all, be all moment. It's just, is this who I want to be? Is this who I want to be?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to continue to do this? And be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Be honest. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And whatever that answer may be, it's your choice. You have to live with it. I can't force, no one can force you
Mm-hmm.
to go down a particular path. It's your choice.
Yes. And Afrocentricity, it's not a forcing. It's not. It doesn't impose itself upon you.
It's not a rhetoric.
It's not a rhetoric. It is an action.
Yeah.
It is what you do. It's what you do. We know what
It's what works for you.
for you, right? And we know what our ancestors have done. We
Yeah.
can see it. We know it. Okay, and that is still a part of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we do have that memory. But in our memory, in our remembering, it has to drive us to work today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only you who can define that work for you.
Yeah.
So again, no one is. I'm not telling you, because I hate indefinite pronouns.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you that you shouldn't go to work today.
Yeah.
I'm not you.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. But I'm telling you what I did. I stopped going to work. At least
Mm-hmm.
over there.
Yeah.
I started doing the real work. I actually started doing the work when I left the job.
Yeah.
That's when the work actually started. It was when I left the job.
Mm-hmm.
And started doing the work that I feel that I know that I should have been
Mm-hmm.
that I needed to be doing.
You operated in your truth.
Right. And I live with the consequences of that decision.
Yeah.
And that's just where it is.
Yeah.
And so that's a decision that we have to make.
Yeah.
You have to make that decision, and that's what I have come to
And that's the
understand.
thing. You have to make that
that.
decision because one way or the other, decision will be made. It will
Yes,
be made
yes.
either with or without your consent.
Yes.
Like I said, there are
Yes.
many of us who
Well,
live.
a lot of us are living under this duress, and those a decision has been made for us.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Like
Right.
you live 40 years of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you look back and then say, where did all the time go? Right? You're not satisfied. You're not who you are, who you want to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you desperately try to pass off, a legacy onto your children. Or they need to be a football player, they need to be a basketball player, they're trying to force them down particular paths so
Mhm.
they could be what you are not, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that leads them to their point 40 years later when they think, where did all the time
Right.
go?
I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
And so now you're 40 years in,
Mhm.
and now you have to make a decision. Or you're going to do the thing.
Well, no, you feel like that the time has come and gone for you to make that decision. Like for us, we're like, there's never a wrong time to
That's
be
right.
right.
That's
But
right.
that's us.
Mm-hmm.
For you, there may be a moment where it's like, right there, that's when it should have been. That's when I should have made the decision. Right?
You can't right a wrong decision. You can only make your next decision the right one.
Yeah.
You can't go back and change that.
So that's the thing, is that a decision will be made,
Mm-hmm.
with or without your consent. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You may want to be exactly who you are, who you've become, but you have to say it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to say it, you have to mean it, and it has to be you, your choice. Right? Because the world today doesn't require you to be anything other than a body. Right? Go to work, pay your bills, buy stuff, contribute to the economy.
Right.
Right? That's what we need. Anything in between, as long as you're not murdering and, stealing and stuff, it's fine. Right? Just go to work.
Mm-hmm.
Go to work, pay your bills, do all this. And then you get caught up in that cycle. Right? Well, now I got a job, I got a place, and now I got a car, but now I need to pay more for this car. I need, to pay off the car, I need to pay off the house, I need to pay off everything. I want to get a pay raise because I want to move to another house, and I want to do all this. And you're not actually being anything.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going through the motions. And like I said, and 40 years later, you look back and it's like, who am I? Because you never made that decision. You never got to choose. Right? You never got to choose. So, and that's what Afrocentricity provides. It provides you the space that you need to make that choice. As a black person, this is your legacy. At least these are the legacies that has been left by all of the other black people who have ever come before. What choice do you make now? Who are you now?
And that's the question that some of us are still or have not been able to answer for ourselves. Who are we?
Mm-hmm. Who are we?
Who are we? And how is it defined? And how is it that you define who you are?
This
Is your definition
Mhm.
is your definition constantly running up against something else?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you all who you say you are regardless of what that other thing is that's opposing you?
That you say.
That you say, that you say is opposing you. So
Water has no opposition. just flows over it, no matter what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need because there's always going to be something.
Always.
Because the world is shifting, is changing in ways beyond our comprehension. There's always going to be something that challenges who you say you are, who you say you want to be, and everything that you've built, right? And there's no going around it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go through it. You have to go through it. And you have to make sure that whatever you've built is able to survive. To survive what these forces are going to try to make you. Mm-hmm. Right? And you can't rely on anything other than yourself to be that. Because at some point, that building won't be there.
Yes.
At some point, the pyramids will be dust. At some point, the Sphinx won't be there. Right? Who are you then?
Right. And even if they are there, who are you still?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you?
I'm just...
Right.
They won't be there forever. Nothing ever is. Right? The Sahara used to be a giant, lush forest. Now it's a desert.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that desert won't be there forever.
Mm-hmm. That's right. As a matter of fact, they're in the process of planting trees and doing things right
Yeah.
now to
Mm-hmm.
make it green again.
Yeah.
Right?
Everything that you know will be wrong at some point.
Oh, I wish you'd say it again. You know.
So you have to be prepared for that.
Right.
You have to be prepared. Like we said. Okay. Here's the question. I'll find the question. Because I think we kind of just ran through everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I'll find a question. Can an African be an African without Africa?
I think if you are in the diaspora,
Mm-hmm.
right, and you have defined yourself as an African,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then I would say that the short answer is yes.
Hmm.
Okay? We are African, even though we are not
In Africa.
in Africa.
Yeah.
You know, it is how Kwame Nkrumah has said that it is born in us
Yeah.
wherever we are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's how we are African. So for us, I think on outside of the continent, I think that the short answer is
Well,
yes.
Africa's still there.
Yes, it is.
What if it wasn't? What if it just sank back in the ocean? Right? And all the land, all the history, all the culture that has been built up there
Mm-hmm.
is gone.
Right, it's all it's
gone.
Right, like the Aswan Dam,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we know that at least 9,000 years of African history is underneath water.
Yeah.
Yet, we're still here.
I'm sure the landmass of Africa at some point was something else. Right?
Well, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, yeah.
And
yeah.
then
Yeah.
it became this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if people were around for it.
Nah, we weren't. But yeah.
That's the thing.
Right.
It's constantly shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Soon enough, Africa, physically, will be something else.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It might not be there. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be an African. So the answer being is that can you be an African without Africa? Well, you should be.
Yes.
You should be.
I'm not gonna say you better be because then I'm telling you
Yeah,
what you was supposed. But yes,
Maybe
you
you are a
should
teacher.
be.
You used to
Yeah,
tell me.
yes.
Yeah.
You should be. I'm trying. You
Yeah.
should be.
Mhm.
Why? Because you are who you say that you are. You are who you are wherever you are.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
yes.
for some people, but like, without those external things
Mhm.
that are constantly reminding you of who you should be,
Mhm.
you wouldn't be it. Right? Can you imagine? Now just imagine.
Just imagine.
If murder wasn't illegal, like it was just never illegal,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that we would have killed someone by now. That everyone would have killed someone. But even okay, like if the penalty wasn't like death, like you got to go to jail for the rest of your life.
Now, keep in mind, at one time we did not have prisons and handcuffs.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
So I'm just sure that we dealt with.
Yeah, but there was a point in our history, right, where we didn't have laws the way that they are now.
Right.
Right. They just understand.
Yes.
Right. But the thing is, if we look at the world now, and it's like, you know what, murder is legal. It's fine. We don't care. Right. I guarantee you, there will be. Just about everybody would have killed somebody. Right? Because you are relying on those external things to keep you honest. Which means that you're not really honest. You're not really honest. Right? Like, if the only reason why you're a good person is because you're afraid of going to hell, then you're not a good person.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so, at some point, hell for us won't be there. Whatever external element that is keeping us honest won't be there.
Yes.
So you still have to be honest. You still have to work from your truth, right? So if all the external things go away, you must persist. You must persist in your truth. Who you say you are has to survive. Right? So at that point, what's keeping you honest? You. Right?
Yes.
You're keeping yourself honest. So I say, cut out the middleman. Don't worry about any of the external things. Don't worry about the pyramids. Right? I mean, there's a conservation effort right now, to conserve the pyramids. As a part of me is like, let it go. Let it go. It wasn't really for the Egyptians in the first place. Right? When they came up and they found it, they were like, oh, look at this. The Sphinx was buried under sand for thousands upon thousands of years. There was a point where, the Egyptians discovered the Sphinx. Right? And it's like, then they reclaimed it. So it wasn't really for them. So if it goes, let it go. If Africa goes, let it go. Well, it depends. Like, if they try to take it from you,
that's something
else.
No. Yeah.
That's
Please,
something else.
yes. Let's for clarity say we're not talking about something taken from us that way.
Yeah.
We're talking about if
it goes.
If it goes.
Yeah.
Not if it's taken.
But if it goes.
If it goes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
a good distinction.
Yes, that's another conversation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if it goes, let it go. Because you don't need that to keep you honest. And that was one of the problems of Africa in antiquity. Is that once all of our external things began to fail, right? It's like in things fall apart, right? They set up an evil force, right?
They be talking about the white man, the Christians, right?
Yeah, when the Christians came, they cut down the trees, right?
In the evil force.
Because they came like, we want to set up a church. And then they were like, well, you can set up over there.
Yeah, in the evil force.
Yeah. And then they were expecting the spirits to come howling out the land.
Right, they were calamity.
Wash all the people away and all that stuff. They was expecting some grand universal action that confirms their beliefs. Right. And nothing came.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, the first time we read it, we said, well, because that's where they belong.
Right.
In the evil force.
That's right.
No, we'll come out as they're supposed to be. But now is that, see, like, the society does not insure the person. The person insures society. Right. Your culture is only as strong as you make it. You have to make it. Right? Like you said, after that, the Oracle dropped out the story. We barely hear from the Oracle anymore. Right? Okwanko's gone. Right? He's sent to what's the village he's sent to?
I know it's his mother's village in so it starts with an M. I can't think of and it's not a Bombay. It starts with an M. I can't think of the name right now. But in any case,
he's sent there. Yeah. And then he sees white people coming in taking over. He's like, there's no way this happened in Umufia. This can't happen in
Right.
Umafia. You go back to Umafia, that's what the base said.
Yeah.
That's the base
Yes,
operation.
the base operation is in
Umafia.
Umafia. He's like, what the hell is
I wonder what is going on.
here? Because he's like, there is no way, man, all the heads be chopped off in my
village.
In my village. Because first of all,
That's
I'm
how we
a
roll.
Bronco.
Yeah.
That's how we roll. And then what happened? He get there, he's like, what the hell? What is this? Like you said, the basis of operation is in Umafia.
Yep.
Which Umafia is the strongest of the clan. Nobody wanted that smoke with Umafia. Until, well, anyway, as you were saying.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Is that all those external things that guaranteed that way of life was gone.
Right.
Next thing you know, what an Umufian is supposed to be, you know, those things, you know, strong, that doesn't bend, especially to that.
Right.
To them coming in and just setting up shop, running the show. We won't allow that.
Right.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Because guess what? You were never really Umufian. Oquanka was.
Yes. Make no mistake, he was.
But not everybody else.
Yes, because we know that he was who he was everywhere he went. Even when he returned. And he was like, what is this? Where's my machete? I need to cut off heads. And you all, and who questioned Oquanko? We did.
Yeah.
We questioned it. We didn't understand, you know, well, I mean, because, you know, y'all sitting there talking about the situation. But Oquanko was like, And so when that Askari came over and he was talking that smack, and Oquanko laid that blade across his head, and the head rolled, and the other Askaris got away, and everybody's looking like, well, why did Oquanko cut his head off? I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. Yes.
And it's like, you weren't really Umufian. You weren't really the person you said you were. Because when it came time for you to be that, you weren't. So you never were. Be honest.
Yes.
You weren't. So when our aesthetic,
Yes.
when our aesthetic is challenged, we have to be able to recognize that it's only as strong as we make it. We have to be it, right? You can't pray to God for help you, because God works through you, right?
Right. Supposedly.
Supposedly,
That's what
God
you said.
works
That's
through
what you
you.
said. Right. That's
So
what you said.
what you praying for?
Right.
Do something.
Do
something.
That's right.
Your action is your answer to your prayer. Don't wait for something else, because you'll be waiting. It's only as strong as you are. Everything, you know, that you say, that externally, that defines your culture, it's just you. It's just you. And at some point, you have to realize that. Because, you know, God hasn't smited anyone in recorded history, at least. He did in the Bible.
Yes.
You know.
You know, that's another conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
But he hasn't smited anyone lately. I'm sure people have been praying for it.
Right.
Right? And it's like, well, of course not.
Right.
Because God was just an extension of you.
Right.
That's why God looks like a person. You know, because it was just you the whole time.
Right.
It was just you. You needed for your world to make sense.
Right.
So you created a force to make it make sense. Right? The word never said that's what it was. That's what you said it was. Right? And then when all these things come to challenge that perception, you were like, world, be what I say you are. And the word is like, no. I've never been that.
Right.
That's you.
Yeah, you have to constantly do that work.
Yeah.
That's the thing in even making this discussion here.
Yeah.
About, you know, are you an African even without the land Africa? You know.
Yeah.
And in order for you to do that, you have to do the work to do that. You know, you don't have. What are you without your? What are you without the drum? That's what you said. Oh,
yeah.
That's
without
a deep
the drum,
one.
without the mask.
Because right. What are you then?
Can we be in New Orleans without the second lines? Without the French Quarter and parades?
Well, the answer is yes.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. You know, so far so good. Okay? If you are who you say that you are, then you are this person wherever you are.
In spite of
In
all
spite,
things.
right? Regardless of how we got here, okay? Through involuntary methods,
We're here now.
we're here now. And who are we while we are here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If you say that you are an African,
Yeah.
then that is who you are.
Wherever you are.
Right here. Some of us are claiming, some of us are saying that we are African, never stepped foot, never, the only body of water we ever crossed was inside of a tub. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay? So yes. And you need to be, and in order for you to be that, you have to work at it.
Yes.
It did not come to you by way of osmosis. That's not how this works. And we know that's the case because you had to become it.
Mm-hmm.
All right? When I was born, I don't think that my parents, thought of themselves as Africans.
Yeah.
Okay? And so, so here I am. I'm their daughter. And, they raised me to the best of their abilities.
Mm-hmm.
I am the one who decided that I am going to walk this path.
Yeah.
Yes, I will tell you that I think that my dad dropped a few good nuggets for me, and boom, I picked it up or whatever.
Showed you the door.
Yes, definitely. But I am the one who but I chose to walk through that door.
Mm-hmm.
I am the one who made, and so I've had to work.
Yeah.
All of my life to get to this, and in that journey,
To get to here.
yes, to get to here, and look. In that process, in that journey, I've had hurdles, ditches, ponds, snakes, all of the drama, and all of the headaches, the pain, all of that. But here I am. I have still decided to do this work.
Somewhere you want to be.
Yeah.
Which is a lot better. Some people, because you want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
You want to
Right.
be here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Most people, have it all. But they don't want it.
Yeah.
They don't want it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you have to be honest with yourself and say you don't want it. I don't want this.
Right. And when see, that's the thing. When someone tells you, when this person tells you, I don't want this, first, number one, believe them.
Yeah.
And number two, don't force them.
Yeah.
Let them go. And I know that's hard for us to do.
Yeah.
I think in the journal, that's hard for black people. It's hard to let us go. Because we don't want to see us hurt.
Yeah.
We don't want to see us in trouble. We don't want to see us in pain. And we feel that if you go over there, we know that there's going to be trouble and pain and tribulations. And so we don't want you over there. And so we do things to ensure that you do not go over there.
Yeah.
I think that's who we are.
That's who everyone is.
Yes, that's who we are. And so I understand where that comes from. But I have come to understand that I have to let that person go. I have to let that person be who they say they are, and in this case, tell me who they're not.
And Afrocentricity has to be there for them and whoever they choose to be. There's no condition on Afrocentricity. It like wherever you are, it has to work. Like I said, so if you go off and marry a white woman, Afrocentricity has to be there. You can't say, well, no, you out the loop now.
Now we're gonna have that kind of conversation for another time.
Like I said,
because here's the thing.
That's rhetoric. That's when a lens becomes a weapon that you use to blunt yourself, you and your own. Right? So now there you go, drawing lines.
Right.
We know what that leads to.
Yes. I'm just saying that I want to have like a God conversation in
But
relation to,
yeah,
I want to have that is
for later.
yeah,
All right.
for
All right. We
yeah,
haven't talked for like an hour and a half.
yeah, it's so that's why
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I want to have that in another in
Yeah, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it later.
right.
So I would say, all right. In conclusion,
Hmm.
in conclusion, Afrocentricity is a lens.
Hmm.
It is a perspective that allows you to ask the questions that you want to ask, that you need to ask to be who you say you want to be.
Hmm.
That's all it is. That's all it should be.
Hmm.
Every answer, every action is yours. Your community is nothing but individuals who have made their choices and who have learned to live with the choices that we all make.
Hmm.
And in that, you create democracy.
Hmm.
You create a democracy composed of sovereign individuals, right? Who all come together under the common belief that this is it,
Hmm.
right? And no matter what incarnation it must be in, no matter how it changes, we're going to ride with this one.
Hmm.
Because this one allows us to be who we want to be, no matter what the changes may be, right? It allows us to change in the ways that we want to change to allow us to survive.
Yeah, Afrocentricity, it is a way of knowing. It is a way of doing.
Hmm.
It's a way of understanding. It is not, we're going to, take this and make it black. That's the one
Yeah.
thing we don't have to do. Afrocentric, we are creators.
Yeah.
We are participants. We are not just simply observers. We're not just simply just standing there watching things happen. We are creating and making things happen.
Yeah.
And in creating, we have to understand that how one person creates, okay, it may look different from how I create.
Hmm.
But what Afrocentricity does, it
It's the
allows
basis.
us to create.
Yeah, it's that basis. Because they're working from Afrocentricity. So no matter what it is, you know it.
Mhm.
You know it. Right? So that's our first conversation.
And I'm happy that to have this conversation, we will continue to have this conversation. This conversation will constantly evolve and encapsulate some other topics in other areas as well. And I look forward to those, if you listen, to respond, what it is that you think about the things that we've said. What is some things that you may agree with or disagree with? Hopefully you listen to understand, not necessarily just to respond, to reply, So, yeah, so on next week, we'll
talk about something else.
We're going to talk about something else.
Whatever
Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. And I know this has been a long video, so hopefully you stuck around for all of it. Even if you didn't, still, thank you for checking in for how long you did.
Right. Thanks.
And,
right.
We'll catch you next time.